Hello, welcome to another episode of CoinBlock. I'm Charles, and today I'm really excited to be talking to you about another 6 ICOs. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is definitely not financial advice. Always remember to do your own due diligence. I'm not paid, sponsored, or affiliated with any of the ICOs discussed in today's video. The views expressed in today's video are just my own personal opinions. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and of course hit that notification button because investing in ICOs is time critical, and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. And of course, please be aware of any scammers impersonating me, not only online but also on Telegram. If you want to verify whether or not you're talking to the real CoinBlock, you're going to have to go to the About section of my YouTube channel and send me a direct email there. That's the only way you can actually verify whether you're talking to me. I also have my own Telegram group and my own spreadsheet. I'll put the links down below in the description. The first ICO I have for you today is Duo Network. You would have noticed I've changed the token economic score to the ICO category score just because most of these ICOs don't have token metrics available for me to analyze. So I'm using an alternative data point, and that's going to be the ICO category score. So when it comes to a project like Duo Network, which wants to create a stablecoin, there's really 3 classes or 3 examples of stablecoin that you need to bear in mind when looking at these kind of projects. You've got fiat collateralized stablecoins, you've got crypto collateralized stablecoins, and of course you also have non-collateralized stablecoins. Now, with something like a fiat collateralized stablecoin, Tether's the best example I can probably give you. A central entity holds money as collateral and issues a token that represents the money held by the entity. That's what a fiat collateralized stablecoin is all about. Now, when it comes to the second class of stablecoin, we have the crypto collateralized stablecoin. The stablecoin in this instance is actually backed by cryptocurrency reserves. Because cryptocurrencies are extremely volatile, the crypto collateralized stablecoin is over collateralized to ensure price stability. So the third class of stablecoin is the non-collateralized stablecoin, where the stablecoin uses a system of supply and demand triggers to algorithmically expand and contract coin circulation depending on the price of the coin. So when we look at something like Duo Network, we can see that it actually wants to create a dual class of stablecoin. The first class of token for Duo Network is actually going to be pegged to traditional fiat currency, while the second class of token on the Duo Network platform wants to leverage volatile investment instruments such as Ether and Bitcoin. So Duo Network is actually operating across the fiat collateralized and crypto collateralized stablecoin niches. So it's actually marrying 2 different concepts in the stablecoin market. So it's actually quite unique. So for the hype, we can see I've actually given Duo Network 3 out of 10. It might have gone up a little bit since the time of recording, but overall there doesn't seem to be that much chatter or noise online about Duo Network. People don't seem to get stablecoins, they just really want to flip ICOs. And obviously stablecoins are kind of against that because they're mitigating against volatility. I think the main issue with something like Duo Network with such low hype is how they're actually going to be able to capture Tether's $2.5 billion market cap. You know, it's not going to happen unless they've got hype on the 7, 8 or 9 score. Now, its testnet is going to be launched in June, the project's mainnet won't be released until September, and institutional partners are small or completely unknown. The only exception I could find is something like Node Capital, which is partnered with the Duo Network project. For the team, it's got a good team. I gave them 7 out of 10, so they're a world-class team, but I feel that they actually lack the insight and blockchain knowledge to make what they want to do happen when compared to something like Tether or Binance Coin. You know, those projects have got a full team of engineers actually working around the clock behind their project, and I don't really see how Duo Network's going to compete with them. For the founder, you've got Mr. Jerry Lee. He actually worked at Citibank in hedge fund services as a senior associate for 4 years. He also interned at UBS. Then we have Mr. Ijo Tao, who's the CTO of Duo Network. Mr. Tao worked at Credit Suisse for 4 years, 10 months as a technical analyst and assistant VP. And finally, we have Mr. Yanchang Ren, who is working as a blockchain engineer for the Geo Network ICO. He also worked at Accenture as a cloud architect and Huawei as an engineer. For the category score, I actually gave them 6 out of 10. It's very important to remember that whenever I do a category score, it's probably going to be different each week because the market niches that the ICOs are operating in are actually dynamic. They're not static. You have to remember, ICOs only do well depending on how much investors are feeling bullish with that project. If one week everyone likes stablecoin cryptocurrencies, then the ICO category score is going to be like 9 or 10 out of 10. If the next week I see ICOs operating in the currency ICO niche and they're not doing too well, then obviously I'm going to mark them down. It's going to be like 5 or 6 out of 10. So that's what's happened here. So that's why I've given Geo Network 6 out of 10. The second ICO I have for you is Fragments. Now the Fragments ICO is operating in the third class of stablecoin. It wants to create a non-collateralized stablecoin by basically using algorithms to manipulate supply and demand of its coin supply. To stabilize purchasing power, the Fragments stablecoin increases and decreases supply in response to demand. So for hype, we can see I gave Fragments 2 out of 10. It's got moderate engagement on its Telegram group. The Fragments project appears to be in stealth mode and lacks the awareness and marketing power the recent Metrodome ICO had. However, that said, Pantera Capital is actually advising and investing in the project according to their website. If that's true, then I am very bullish on Fragments. That is something to be very aware of. Pantera obviously only invest in projects that have a tendency to do well, so I'm sure Pantera knows something that I don't. When it comes to the team, I gave them 8.5 out of 10. They've got a very strong and capable team. For the co-founder, you've got Mr. Brandon Lars. He was a senior software engineer at Google for over 5 years, specializing in search ranking before working at Uber as a senior software engineer for over 2.5 years. Then we have Mr. Ahmed. Apologies, I can't pronounce his last name. Mr. Ahmed worked at Google for 5.5 years before interning at Facebook. And then we have Mr. Aditya. Apologies if I mispronounced your name. Aditya worked at Uber for 5 years and interned at Yelp. So this is definitely something to watch. It's got a very strong and capable team. And what really stood out for me was the fact that the team are veterans. You know, there's none of this 9 months or 12 months or just over a year at Google. All these team members have actually worked at Google for 5 years plus. And for the category score, I gave Fragments 6 out of 10. The third ICO I have for you is also another de facto currency, although it's not operating in the stablecoin niche. So Algorand wants to create a digital currency that allows very small transactions to be made quickly, regardless of the network's overall size. Now, the first thing I don't like about this project is, as you've probably guessed, the name. I like names to be short, I like them to be sharp, I like them to be simple, and I want them to be memorable. For hype, I gave them 4 out of 10. It's actually got quite a lot of awareness in the market, but a lot of people don't seem to be paying attention. But I actually gave them 4 out of 10. Now the team, they're very strong. I gave them 7.5 out of 10. They're academic led with 4 PhDs and 2 Turing Award winners with ties to MIT University and strong advisors, including Alessandro Cesa of Zcash and the renowned venture capitalist Naval Ravikant. So they've really got some all-stars here on their project. For the team leader, we have Mr. Silvio Micali. Mr. Micali has over 35 years of experience. He's an expert in cryptography and a recipient of many awards in the crypto space. Then we have Mr. David Schutz. David actually has over 30 years experience. He worked at Microsoft for over 10 years as a principal software engineer. And finally, we have Mr. Naveed Insula. Mr. Insula got his master's in computer science at Harvard University and went from being a web consultant in 2012 to becoming a senior engineer and manager for Mozilla. Now that's not a red flag, but it does strike me as being a bit strange that someone actually went from being a a freelance web consultant to a senior software engineer and manager at Mozilla. I would have wanted a bit more of an explanation from the team about that. When it comes to the negatives, there are a few things that actually go against Algorand apart from the name. So the first thing that caught my attention is the fact that it's a very early stage project and it lacks clarity with regard to their roadmap that's actually encrypted. Yes, I'm not making this up. If you go to Algorand's website, go to the roadmap tab, you will actually see their roadmaps encrypted, so you can't access it. It's all alphanumeric numbers and hashes. Very, very strange. Maybe it's some kind of marketing ploy, I don't know, but I don't like it. The second thing I didn't like about Algorand is that the team, yes, they're very strong and they're geared towards the tech side of what they want to do, but there doesn't seem to be any business nous. There doesn't seem to be any business experience. And the final thing that goes against Algorand is their consensus mechanism. Algorand uses what it calls cryptographic sortation, which basically selects a committee of people to certify each proposed block. The algorithm used for selecting a random pool of users is based on the amount of funds held in their accounts. Algorand's cryptographic sortation consensus method uses a minimal amount of information, including the user's private key, to verify votes on the network. You've got to remember, a private key shouldn't be accessible to anyone, an algorithm or otherwise. That is a red flag for me, and it doesn't look good from a tech perspective. So if we take a macro trend look at these ICOs and really compare them to their past competitors, we can see that they're all operating in the same niche, the currency niche. But we can also see that their currency niches aren't actually performing that well at the moment. And as I've said in my previous video, it's not about what you want as an investor, it's about what the market wants. You only have to look at the Haven stablecoin to know what I'm on about. The Haven stablecoin and de facto currency is currently trading at half its ICO hard cap with a current market capitalization of $15 million. And then you have the STK currency. The STK currency is trading at a 42% loss. STK's current market capitalization stands at a paltry $10 million. Its ICO hard cap was set at $17 million. So that's already telling me that currency ICOs haven't been doing very well in the bear market. We really need to do our homework when it comes to these coins. And there's no better example of this if you've been in currency long enough to know about Dimcoin, the Dimcoin de facto currency, which launched its ICO way back in July 2017 with a hard cap of $13.5 million, has been on a slow downtrend with a current market capitalization of just $8 million, and the bulk of its $38,000 trading volume confined to just one exchange, X-Rates Exchange, which I've never heard of. So although I like these ICOs, we really have to look at this in an evidence-based way, and the evidence really isn't working for these projects. However, that said, Geo Network and Fragments do stand out for me because they have a real use case and they solve an immediate problem, which is price volatility in cryptocurrency. Investors, short-term speculators are actually looking for a coin to put their money in when the market is very volatile. The fourth ICO I have for you is Certik. Now, Certik wants to create a verification platform that checks smart contract coding for vulnerabilities. We can see I've actually given it 8 out of 10, and to be fair with you, hype is actually the wrong term. It's more awareness, because it's more to do with how many people know about this project, how many people have heard about it. It's been knocking around since February. That is quite a high score, but again, it hasn't got the same recognition in the market that the Next ICO or the QuantStamp ICO or the QuarkChain ICO had several months back. When it comes to the team score, I gave them 7.5 out of 10. The team include research scientists and PhDs from Columbia and Yale University and is supported by a network of software engineers. But that said, they're all academics. I really want to see some hard business hitters on board the Certik project, and I'm not really getting that vibe. For the category score, I gave Certik 4 out of 10. Certik is operating in the security ICO category. Its immediate rivals QuantStamp and Hacken had very different market trajectories. QuantStamp benefited from a very well organized marketing campaign and had a hard cap of $30 million, making a cool 13x during the January bull run, before retracing back to its original ICO price on July 12th, whereas Hacken actually had a $20 million hard cap and failed to make any significant market moves since its inception at the start of the year. Hacken actually lost over half its value and is currently sitting on a market capitalization of just $6.6 million. So that says it all really. Certik need to pull their finger out, and they need to have a very tight marketing campaign if they're going to have the same price performance as QuantStamp when they hit the markets. And to be honest with you, I'm very skeptical. I don't really think they're going to be able to pull that off. However, that said, there's actually one thing that makes Certik stand out, and that's Binance. According to TechCrunch, Binance invested in the Certik ICO. The Certik platform uses tools, dApps, and libraries, including open source algorithms and plugins, to index and automatically rank source code. The Certik token will be used to purchase these add-ons. So it does have some use cases and some utilities, but I'm not buying it. For me as an investor, the only thing I care about is Binance getting in this project. That tells me that Certik is going to be on the Binance exchange if that information is true. As far as I'm concerned, Certik's token utility or use case is very, very weak, and its business model can be done without the use of blockchain technology. Pasting code into a web browser that does little more than spell check it doesn't require tokenization. Many non-smart contract free-to-use PHP or JavaScript code checkers already exist, and they don't need their own cryptocurrencies to function. So I think Certik certainly has a lot of questions to answer for. Yes, it has plugins. Yes, it has libraries. But for you and me as investors, we don't really care about that. We only want to know about the fundamentals, and the fundamentals state that the current technology that's available can already spell check and verify computer code, whether it be smart contracts or otherwise. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is just a gimmick. That said, this is something to watch if Binance is invested in the Certik project. The fifth ICO is nCent. Now, nCent wants to create a decentralized protocol for incentivized markets where users benefit from the network effects they own and create. So don't worry, I know the business idea that they want to execute sounds a little bit complex, but I'm going to be talking to you about that in a little while. Let's first focus on the hype. We can see that I've actually given it 7 out of 10. Many people are talking about this project. It's garnered a lot of awareness following the Winklevoss twins partnering and investing in the project. With its large Telegram group, high user engagement, and short memorable name, the nCent project actually stands out in a sea of mediocrity. For the team, I gave nCent 8 out of 10. I think they have a very strong world-class team. For the lead developer, you have Mr. Kapil K. Jain. Mr. Kapil operated hedge fund strategies for Citigroup as well as Perry Capital. Then we have Dr. Rajiv Sarati, the core developer. He worked for Microsoft and GoDaddy. Mr. Sarati holds over 10 patents in the technology sector. And finally, we have Mr. Michael Baral, who's working as the app developer for the nCent project. Mr. Baral also co-founded an Ethereum-based game and is active in the blockchain community. Previous employees include Google and Uber. And then you've got the ICO category score. So for nCent, I gave them 7 out of 10, operating in the protocol niche, which I'm generally quite optimistic on. But don't think I'm going to let nCent off softly. Creating a meta network, which nCent wants to do, for leveraging incentives in a way that galvanizes its users to come up with novel ways of restructuring social and economic activity, is unduly naive. You only have to look at the District 0x ICO to know what I'm on about. Now, the District 0x ICO, which launched way back in June of 2017, wanted to create a decentralized marketplace that better aligned incentives and decision making among market participants. And that's very much what nCent wants to do. And yet, despite having significant levels of awareness from influential YouTubers, a big idea, and a solid team, the District 0x project was a flop. District 0x is currently trading with a market capitalization of less than half of its original hard cap. Now, I'm not saying the same thing is going to happen to nCent. After all, District 0x did make many people a lot of money immediately after its coin offering, but it was the following 3, 6, 9, 12 months after its initial crowd sale that it kind of fell out of the market and people just stopped talking about it. So nCent are going to have to work very hard in order to deliver on top of their brand. And the final ICO for today's episode is Helium. Now, Helium wants to build an open source wireless network for IoT devices. The Helium network mines a Helium token by validating nodes, or as it calls it, gateways on the blockchain that are providing wireless connectivity. So it's a great idea. Don't have any issues with what they want to do. It sounds very similar actually to the Q-Link ICO. And of course people went crazy for that, and it did very well on the exchanges in the bull run. But we're not in a bull market. That is something you need to bear in mind. Now, when it comes to the hype of the Helium project, you can see I've actually given them 4 out of 10. I think by the time you watch this video, it might be a bit higher than that. The Helium project has several key traits that actually make it popular with well-known YouTubers in the crypto space, such as mineability, a novel consensus mechanism, and a big idea. According to Crunchbase, the Helium project has already collected $38 million since 2013 from private investors, including Google Ventures. However, the Helium Telegram channel has been a very slow grower. Its private testnet won't be available until September. For the team, I actually gave them the highest score in today's video, 8.5 out of 10. Helium has a very large 93-man team, according to its LinkedIn profile, and it's headquartered in San Francisco. Former employers of the core team members include EA, Yahoo, Cisco, BlackBerry, IBM, Infosys, and Symantec. Sean Fanning, if you're old enough to remember, was the founder of the first popular peer-to-peer sharing network, Napster, and is acting as advisor for the Helium project. However, unlike other ICOs that came before it, such as Emotique, Nebulous, Tari, Nervos, or EOS, the Helium ICO does not have any direct blockchain experience, and that makes me very wary about investing in this ICO. For the category score, I gave Helium 5 out of 10. Overall, I'm generally quite neutral on IoT ICOs. Now, when it comes to the negatives when looking at something like Helium, there's just really 2 things to take away from this review. One, Helium is creating its own proprietary hardware to mine tokens. As we know, this actually increases the margin for error and reduces investor confidence. The second thing to be aware of with Helium is that it's already raised money way back in 2013. Why do they need additional funding? These guys have already collected $38 million. Looking at this objectively, it's got 93 employees. It's no wonder they need all that money. For me as an investor, something doesn't seem quite right with this project. So out of all these projects, the ones I'm most bullish on are nCent and Fragments, and to a lesser extent, Certik. With something like nCent, I think it's got brandability. That's its strength. I think its weakness is really what it wants to do. It really needs to study and analyze the District 0x platform and learn from its mistakes if it is to succeed. Otherwise, depending on its token economics, I think for a flip, nCent is going to do very, very well. Long term, I'm not too sure, but hopefully they can prove me wrong. For the Fragments ICO, it's operating in the currency niche, and although I'm biased and although I really do like currency niches, I have to be true to myself and true to my subscribers and say that the evidence is actually against Fragments. As I've already demonstrated, Dimcoin, the Haven ICO, these currencies did really badly in bear markets, and that tells me that Fragments is going to flop on the exchanges. despite the fact that it's already got Pantera capital invested in it. Still, if I can get it at ICO price or below ICO price, maybe this might be worth a punt. But again, this is very high risk. When it comes to something like Certik, I don't like the idea. I think it's a waste of time, and I personally wouldn't invest in it. The only thing that's got going for it is the fact that Binance is backing the project. ICO investing is all about momentum. If an ICO can't sustain its momentum for the long term, then eventually that momentum is going to turn against it. And I think that's going to be a case in point with Certik. You and I know that people investing in ICOs don't care about the technology. And that's why Certik is something to get in and out of as quickly as possible. Personally, I'd advise against investing in it. But if you're a risk taker, this might be something for you. When it comes to something like Geo Network, I like the project very much. I like the fact that they're using algorithms to control the supply and demand of their coin supply. But overall, I can't see how they're going to take the spot away from something like Tether. When I look at Algorand, there's too many issues with the project for me to like it. And the name is really the nail in the coffin for me. So I'm out on Algorand. When it comes to the Helium ICO, I'm a bit concerned about what their token economics could be. If they've got 93 people on their team, that tells me that they're going to be asking for substantial sums of money. Now, if the hard cap is very high, as you know, the multipliers won't be there and there's no point in investing in it. If they're asking for more than $15 million in a bear market, I wouldn't touch it. I don't really think the hard cap is going to be great, to be honest with you, with a project like Helium. With all these projects, to be realistic, you want to see a hard cap of around 15 million, if you want to get a good return on your investment. But it really depends on what the market's going to do. If Bitcoin goes up in value very, very quickly, then of course these projects can start asking for more money as new users flood the markets. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and of course hit the notification button, because investing in ICOs is time critical and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. I also have my own Telegram group and my own spreadsheet. I'll put the links down below in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.